This is the DEFCON warning system. Alert status for 1 p.m. Universal Time coordinated, Monday, the 15th of December 2025. Condition green, DEFCON 5. There are currently no imminent nuclear threats at this time. This briefing covers nuclear risk, strategic stability, and escalation indicators observed over the past 2 weeks. While no immediate nuclear confrontation is assessed, several developments continue to shorten decision timelines, complicate deterrence calculations, and increase the risk of misinterpretation during crisis conditions. This assessment focuses on advances in hypersonic weapons, warnings from Russia regarding maritime retaliation, the erosion of long-standing military cooperation agreements, nuclear safety concerns in Ukraine, shifts in NATO burden sharing, expanding Chinese military infrastructure near India, and new signals emerging from China and North Korea regarding nuclear posture and strategic intent. Each of these developments, taken individually, may appear manageable. Viewed collectively, they illustrate a global environment in which warning time is shrinking, escalation pathways are multiplying, and crisis stability is becoming more fragile. The continued advancement and proliferation of hypersonic missile technology remains one of the most significant destabilizing factors in modern nuclear deterrence. Hypersonic weapons, traveling at speeds above Mach 5 and often capable of maneuvering during flight, dramatically compress the time available for detection, tracking, and decision-making. Unlike traditional ballistic missiles, which follow relatively predictable trajectories, hypersonic glide vehicles and cruise missiles can evade or confuse early warning systems. For nuclear-armed states, this creates a fundamental dilemma. Leaders may face only minutes, or in some cases seconds, to determine whether a detected launch is conventional or nuclear, limited or strategic, real or false. This erosion of reaction time increases the pressure to act quickly and, potentially, preemptively. In a crisis scenario, especially between peer nuclear powers, the fear of losing the ability to retaliate could incentivize early nuclear decision-making. This dynamic weakens traditional deterrence models built around assured second strike capability and increases the risk of accidental or miscalculated escalation. As more states develop or acquire hypersonic systems, the margin for error continues to narrow. Russia has issued warnings that continued Ukrainian attacks on oil tankers could lead to retaliation against vessels belonging to countries assisting Ukraine. This statement introduces a potentially dangerous escalation pathway at sea. Attacks on third-party commercial shipping could widen the conflict beyond the immediate Russia-Ukraine theater and draw additional NATO or partner nations into direct confrontation. Maritime incidents are historically volatile, particularly when attribution is unclear or disputed. A strike on a foreign-flagged tanker could be interpreted as an act of war, even if intended as a limited response. Such incidents increase the risk of miscalculation, especially in crowded maritime environments where military and civilian vessels operate in close proximity. While this threat does not directly involve nuclear forces, it contributes to escalation pressure between nuclear-armed states and their allies, increasing the risk of a broader confrontation in which nuclear signaling may eventually occur. Russia has formally terminated decades-old military cooperation agreements with Portugal, France, and Canada, stating that these agreements are no longer relevant under current conditions. These agreements, while largely symbolic in recent years, represented residual channels for military dialogue, transparency, and confidence building between Russia and NATO members. Their termination further reduces formal mechanisms for communication and de-escalation. The erosion of military-to-military contacts increases the risk that routine activities, exercises, or deployments could be misinterpreted. In periods of heightened tension, the absence of established communication channels can allow minor incidents to escalate unchecked. This development reflects a broader pattern of strategic decoupling between Russia and Western defense institutions, reinforcing an environment in which misunderstanding becomes more likely and crisis management becomes more difficult. The International Atomic Energy Agency has reported that the new safe confinement structure over Chernobyl's destroyed Unit 4, damaged by a drone strike in February 2025, has lost its primary safety functions, including its confinement capability. While this is not a nuclear weapons issue, it carries serious implications for nuclear safety and regional stability. The new safe confinement was designed to prevent the release of radioactive material and protect the environment from further contamination. Damage to this structure raises the risk of radioactive release, particularly if compounded by further military activity, structural degradation, or maintenance challenges. Any radiological incident in Ukraine would have cross-border consequences and could increase political and military tensions in an already volatile region. The militarization of areas near nuclear facilities continues to represent a serious and under-discussed escalation risk, where conventional conflict could produce strategic-level consequences without the use of nuclear weapons. The United States has indicated that it expects Europe to assume the majority of NATO's conventional defense capabilities by 2027, including intelligence, missile systems, and force readiness. This shift reflects long-standing U.S. concerns about burden sharing within the alliance, but it also introduces transitional risks. During periods of capability transfer or restructuring, gaps in readiness, coordination, or deterrence credibility can emerge. If European forces are perceived as unprepared or underintegrated during this transition, adversaries may be tempted to test NATO's resolve through grey zone actions, hybrid warfare, or limited conventional probes. Strategic stability depends not only on nuclear forces, but also on credible conventional deterrence. Any perceived weakening of NATO's conventional posture could indirectly increase reliance on nuclear deterrence, particularly during crises. China continues to expand a network of high-altitude airfields, heliports, and dual-use infrastructure across the Tibetan Plateau near the line of actual control with India. This infrastructure enhances China's ability to rapidly deploy forces, sustain operations, and conduct surveillance in a region where logistical challenges have historically limited military activity. For India, this development raises concerns about strategic surprise and rapid escalation along a disputed border between two nuclear-armed states. While China and India have mechanisms for crisis management, their border disputes have previously escalated into deadly clashes without firearms. Improved infrastructure increases the speed at which a local incident could escalate into a broader military confrontation. Any sustained conflict between China and India would carry nuclear escalation risks, even if both sides initially seek to keep hostilities conventional. China has omitted the phrase denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula from a defense white paper for the first time in 19 years. This change in language, while subtle, is strategically significant. It may indicate a shift in Beijing's priorities, signaling reduced emphasis on pressuring North Korea to abandon its nuclear program. For regional actors, including South Korea, Japan, and the United States, this omission raises questions about China's future role in managing North Korea's nuclear ambitions. A perception that China is less committed to denuclearization could embolden Pyongyang and complicate diplomatic efforts. Changes in declaratory policy often precede or accompany shifts in strategic posture, and this development warrants continued monitoring. North Korea's solid-fuel Hwasong-20 intercontinental ballistic missile represents the significant advancement in its strategic capabilities. The missile is assessed to be a three-stage system with substantially higher thrust and an estimated range of approximately 15,000 kilometers, potentially capable of reaching all of the continental United States. Solid fuel technology reduces launch preparation time and increases survivability, making missiles harder to detect and preempt. This development strengthens North Korea's second strike potential and complicates missile defense planning. As North Korea's nuclear forces become more credible and survivable, the risk of miscalculation during crises increases, particularly if command and control stability is uncertain. Additional stability concerns beyond these headline developments. Several broader trends continue to affect nuclear risk. Increased military exercises near contested borders and maritime choke points, greater reliance on space-based assets vulnerable to interference, cyber operations targeting command, control, and early warning systems. At this time, the DEFCON warning system assesses no imminent nuclear threats. However, the strategic environment continues to degrade in ways that reduce warning time, weaken crisis stability, and increase the consequences of miscalculation. The continued spread of hypersonic weapons, erosion of communication channels, and modernization of nuclear forces all point toward a world in which nuclear risk is becoming more complex rather than less. Vigilance, transparency, and effective crisis management mechanisms remain essential to preventing escalation. The DEFCON warning system is a private intelligence organization which has monitored and assessed nuclear threats by national entities since 1984. It is not affiliated with any government agency and does not represent the alert status of any military branch. The public should make their own evaluations and not rely on the DEFCON warning system for any strategic planning. At all times, citizens are urged to learn what steps to take in the event of a nuclear attack. If this had been an actual attack, the DEFCON warning system will give radiation readings for areas that are reported to it. Your readings will vary. Official news sources will have radiation readings for your area. For immediate updates, visit www.defconwarningsystem.com. Breaking news and important information can be found on the DEFCON Warning System Community Forum and on the DEFCON Twitter feed DEFCON WS Alerts. You may also subscribe to the DEFCON Warning System mailing list. Note that Twitter updates may be subject to delays. The next scheduled update is 1 p.m., the 22nd of December 2025. Additional updates will be made as the situation warrants, with more frequent updates at higher alert levels. This concludes this report of the DEFCON warning system.